Call to order the meeting of the Merrillville Town Council for today, Tuesday, December 28th at 6:30 p.m. Please stand for our invocation and remain standing for a moment of silence.
Let us pray. Oh, gracious God, we give you thanks for this season, which is one of hope and promise. We're thankful that your blessing resides with us in many and wonderful ways. We ask for your blessing to reside on these deliberations this evening and with those who make very important decisions for our community. Bless our community with peace and harmony, safety and goodwill. All this we ask through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Jean Warren, would you lead us in the pledge tonight, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk Treasurer, would you take the roll call, please?
Councilman Spann.
Present.
Vice President Hardaway.
Here.
Councilman Minchuk.
Here.
Councilman Uzelak.
Here.
Councilman Pettit.
Here.
Councilman White.
Here.
President Bella.
Here. All seven present. Moving on to petitions, communications, acknowledgements, and remonstrations. We have a proposal letter from Sender and Company in our packets. I'm not going to read it all, but they're asking to be reappointed for the next year. We'll consider that at our next meeting on the 30th. I also want to announce I have a letter from Mike Deppie asking to be reappointed as the Merrillville Police Commission attorney. And I received a letter from Joe Svetnoff and Company, also with the same interest. We also have some residents who sent in some letters for upcoming board and commission openings. So we'll continue accepting those letters through first of the year. The consent agenda tonight, we have the accounts payable voucher for approval for December 28th and the approval of the town council meeting minutes of December 14th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Uzelak, second by Mr. Spann for approval of the consent agenda. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Moving on tonight to standing committees, Budget and Finance, Mr. Hardaway.
Yeah, Mr. President, later on in the meeting, we have a bunch of resolutions transferring money to clean up end of the year finances.
Okay,
That's all I have.
thank you. Council Affairs, Mr. Pettit.
No report.
Public Works and Utilities, Mr. Minchuk.
No report at this time.
Elections, Public Relations, Town Beautifications, Mr. Pettit.
No report.
Environmental Affairs, Mrs. Uzelak.
Oh, yes, Mr. President, as I stated when I walked in about the COVID, it seems to be rapidly increasing. Florida had 35,000 cases just in one day with COVID.
Wow.
So I'm wearing my mask. I have all my shots and my vaccination. I hope everybody does the same to keep safe. So that's about all I could really say about all of this, and I just hope people keep safe. Oh, and then I did ask about the Visa cards. I think you told me, Mr. President, I asked you how many cards were given to the people?
It was
who got
47, I believe, most
That's
recently.
about right.
47? Then 47 Visa cards were given out so far, and I hope the public keeps responding. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I got one question under Marge's
Yes.
committee, Mr. President. It may be time for us to start looking at masking up again in our town buildings as we look at what's going on around us. People may say that they are completely vaccinated and had boosters, but I think that in fairness to our employees, this may be something that, maybe not tonight, but it's something food for thought that we just think about when people come into our building again, that they start wearing masks to protect, not only to protect themselves, but to are more concerned about our employees. Because I'd hate for somebody to bring something in and it transmits to our employees, even though they've got all kinds of glass and everything else up. So I just think that that's something we should think about, Marge, under your.
Oh, yes, well, Jerome Prince, the mayor of Gary, he's got new restrictions going now. I talked with him. He wants everybody to wear a mask when they come in there, and he will be checking to see if they had their shots, the workers, the staff in Gary.
Yeah,
Very
he's supposed to make another decision by the end of this week now as to the direction that Gary's gonna go in.
I think we
Yeah.
recently actually did a executive order number 6. The department
He
heads,
did.
did that go out?
Yes,
Within
we got it.
municipal buildings.
Yeah,
Oh, it's already in place?
right. Well, that's what he
Torrance-
told me.
Yeah, Torrance
I've seen
called
it.
for some clarification. You might recall, Richard, we didn't have, if you're working out in the fitness
Right,
center.
yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah, so I think we're covered, but we could review it.
Yeah, I think we need to just make sure that it's being enforced, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I have to agree with Mr. Hardaway. I think we should have some new restrictions and keep our eyes on it.
Okay.
Especially the people that are in and out of here all day.
Yep.
They do need some protection.
Yeah, I just took mine off for the meeting. Otherwise,
Well, that's,
the building, yeah, we're supposed to wear it.
right, okay, thank you.
Can we, as a town, like, just put some boxes in the doorway as people come in and they can grab a mask?
Yeah,
We've got some
have
out there.
Then
Yeah.
that would help a lot in the solution.
Security hands it out,
Yeah,
John. He's
the
got a
guy
box
that's taking the
in there.
temperatures out there,
Okay.
he's got them.
Yeah,
What, I've been
but
at,
that's a good idea too.
Terrence, do you have those out at the desk up front at this community center?
Good evening. We do, and we've also discussed when we have our tournaments, having it out also for spectators to come in.
Great, okay.
it's good, see?
Mr. President, I
Smart.
want to add to our report. I had talked to Pat about possibly using the American Rescue Plan to purchase portable or home kits. So if our employees come here, we can test them. I also ran into Fire Chief, is that Yerger? And I discussed it with him briefly, and he thought it was a good idea. He says maybe we can even get a great discount through some of the individuals he knows. I just wanted to put that on the table. I also ran into Mr. Frank Mervan, and he kind of asked about some things, what we were doing. And I had put that out there. He thought it was an additional good use. Those things are flying off the shelf really quick. I couldn't even catch none for the holiday, but I just wanted to add that I think that's something we should purchase, some short-term test kits. Thank you.
Thank you much, gentlemen. Moving on to personnel policy and employee benefits, Mr. Hardaway.
No report, Mr. President.
Public safety, Mr. Minchuk.
Nothing at this time.
Economic development, Mr. Pettit.
No report.
Parks and recreations, Mrs. Uselak.
No report.
Did you guys take off for Christmas or what?
Well, the parks are all done.
Okay.
They've been finished.
I'm just joking. Abandoned and blighted properties, Mr. Hardaway.
No report on that, but I've got a question. We've got, because they're starting to pop up again, those boxes that for clothes and shoes that,
At residence?
no, not at residents, at businesses.
Parking lot.
Because I saw one yesterday down at 5490 Broadway. And, you know, people go there and they put stuff
Yeah.
in there, and when they get full, then they just put it around there. And I thought that, and I was looking to, I think, your committee, Sean, Council Affairs, so that we could come up with some type of ordinance that bans those things altogether. Because what happens now is that they're not that well constructed. So Public Works just goes by, picks them up and throws them in the back of the dump truck. And that's it. But I think that if we could come up with an ordinance, because you're never going to find out who they really belong to. But we just need to have something on the book, so if anybody ever comes back to us after we take one, then we can say that this is the reason why we took it.
Well, there used to be one in the Strachan Van Til parking lot.
Right.
And it was for used clothing, old shoes, et cetera, but people started dumping garbage in there.
Right, and that's what
So we
happened.
had to have that one removed.
That's what happened. So I just think if we come up with something, with an ordinance, Sean,
Okay.
out of your committee, that should take care of it. Thank you.
I'll talk to Joe.
Okay. That's all I got.
Thank you. Dean and Barbara White Community Center, co-chairs Mr. Minchuk and Mr. Pettit.
we really don't have anything, I don't think, Jeff, since the last time we had our committee meeting. Torrance, do you have anything?
We just had discussed about Core coming in one more time and doing the check of the center because that warranty is over at the end of January.
Yeah.
We also discussed some things in terms of security, doing more at our events, for the event side and Bar Beyond, because that's where a lot of the traffic and stuff is going on right now. How do we staff that properly to make sure that the ladies, anybody else there is not walking out at night? And we also talked about some energy efficiency in terms of keeping lights on, off. How do we do that? And we're doing some checks to see if the parking lots have a timer on there, so we don't have the lights blaring all night long and causing a high energy bill.
Real quick, while we're on that topic, I don't mean to turn this into a discussion or nothing. Chief, I'll send you out an email. I want to do a sit-down with you, Torrance, and Officer Burzak, and kind of go over some security issues at the center. I was looking at January 10th, but I'll send you out an email so we can get a time and a date together that works for all of us.
You mean security scheduling
Yeah,
things? Okay.
yeah, there's no issues.
I'm sorry.
Security scheduling issues, not security issues, right?
I'm sorry, yeah. Let me.
Thank you, Jeff. Special projects, food and beverage tax, diversity, town's birthday. Mr. Hardaway.
One more birthday celebration Thursday night that will accumulate our 50th birthday. We're excited about a special council meeting that night. And that's all I have until January gets here. We start moving toward the parade in July.
Very good. Department and commission reports, Lake County Solid Waste Management District, Councilman White.
No report.
NERC, Mr. Hardaway.
No report.
Stormwater Management Resources, Matt Lake.
I just want to make you aware, we're going to be updating our stormwater ordinance. It's not going to have any change in stormwater fees or anything. It's just going to be based on the new IDM permit, just to be in compliance with that, along with the new Indiana DNR flood hazard ordinance. They have a template for that. We're going to incorporate that into one ordinance. Right now, they're two separate ordinances. And we're going to incorporate something to protect some wetlands with the passage of Senate Rolled Act 389. There's limited protection for Class 1 and 2 wetlands, so we're going to look at that, as well as the enforcement limitations put upon us by House and Rolled Act 1266, which limited our ability to do stop work orders, and also expedites the permitting process. So we're going to have all that rolled in this new ordinance. And we're going to keep our low-impact development standards and as well. So it's going to be a pretty comprehensive ordinance. I assume it'll be a template for others to look at and utilize. And we should be done with that early February. So it'll be ready for first and second reading at that time.
Great. Thank you, Matt. Moving on to department reports. Chief Catino.
Good evening, everyone. Just a couple of things I want to cover. On the 19th of December, we had a very successful toy giveaway. We partnered with the First Responders Children Foundation, and we met quite a few residents with their kids, and they left with a smile. So we're looking forward to continuing that partnership. Also, this weekend is New Year's Eve, and we're suggesting that if you choose to go out, take advantage of the Uber and the Lyft services for designated driving, because we will have extra officers out there, and other PD departments are going to be all over. So let's go into the new year practicing safety. Thank you.
It's a good suggestion. Thank you, Chief. Mr. Price.
Good evening. From our standpoint, we've been doing some training on internals controls that was recommended from State Board of Accounts through HR and Kathy Pettit, so we've been all getting that taken care of. We're getting scheduled and prepared for a quick launch within 4 days of things that's going on in January. We have a tournament that's happening January 8th, volleyball tournament. We have the first weekend of basketball season actually getting started January 15th. We're also working on some other things that we're opening up our center, opening up the climbing wall and different things like that from the jump, and also putting together a marketing campaign to encourage the residents to pursue their fitness goals there at the Dean and Barbara White Center. By doing that, getting them in the door and then seeing the other things that they're accessible to them and getting them information in terms of programs and things like that. So we've also been doing some personnel trainings and talking about just HR things, talking about everybody's role, defining what is full-time, full-time hourly, those little things like that. We had a nice Christmas dinner together. Then we're also crossing our fingers and hoping to work in landing the Lutheran basketball tournament at the Dean and Barbara White Center for 2022.
That's great. Sheila, anything for planning and building?
Just one thing, Mr. Clifford Dugan was in the office from Lake County Solid Waste Management. They closed on the property today.
Oh.
He's pulling an interior building remodel for the interior of the building, and they'll be back in Merrillville in a couple of months.
Great, very good. Thank you.
Thanks for letting me know.
It's everybody, right? Yeah. Moving on tonight to general orders, we have a first reading ordinance 21-32. The ordinance of the town of Merrillville providing that the zoning ordinance, town of Merrillville, Lake County, Indiana, be amended by changing the established planned unit development zoning to CIS, Commercial Industrial Special Zoning District classification. Mr. Pettit? Mr. Pettit had a motion already.
Second.
A second by Mr. Hardaway. Sean and Sheila, what are we doing here?
Mr. President, this is for the 11 acres that used to be, we went through several iterations on the south side of 93rd Avenue where assisted living facilities were going to be located. This is between the Pinnacle Hospital and the Strip Retail Center that's on the south side. This is final rezone and acquisition by the Misner Group. If you recall, we had the Special Plan Commission RDC workshop 2 weeks ago, I guess it's been, or a week ago, where Eddie Adler from the Misner Group laid out some of the things they're going to do on that property. So this is just a cleaning up of the zoning.
So this is at or near 171 East 93rd Avenue.
Right.
Any other questions from the council? Hearing none. Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Span,
Yes.
Vice President Hardaway,
Yes.
Councilman Minchuk,
Yes.
Councilwoman Yuzlak,
Yes,
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilman White,
Yes.
President Bella.
Yes. 7 ayes. Motion carries.
Motion to suspend the rules, Mr. President, read this on second,
Second.
get this out of the way for him.
Motion by Mr. Pettit with a second by Mr. Hardaway to suspend the rules tonight to read ordinance 21-32 on second and final reading. Questions or comments from the council? We need a roll call on this? Voice vote to suspend?
Voice vote for suspension.
Okay.
Second reading.
Roll call then, please.
Councilman Span,
Yes.
Vice President Hardaway,
Yep.
Councilman Minchuk,
Yes.
Councilwoman Yuzlak,
yes,
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilman White,
Yes.
President Bella.
Yes. We're going to suspend the rules tonight to hear ordinance 21-32 on second and final reading. Anything to add? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pettit, second by Mr. Hardaway. To approve ordinance 21-32 on second and final reading. Any discussion from the council? Is there any public comment tonight on ordinance 21-32? It's a rezoning of property on 91st Avenue. Seeing none, back to the council. Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Councilman Span,
Yes.
Vice President Hardaway,
Yep.
Councilman Minchuk,
Yes.
Councilwoman Yuzlak,
yes,
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilman White,
Yes.
President Bella.
Yes. 7-0, motion carries. Moving on tonight to resolutions. As Mr. Hardaway alluded to, we have a few transfers of funds. Resolution 21-94, it's a transfer of monies within the 2021 budget.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion for approval by Mr. Hardaway, second by Mr. Span. Discussion?
Trista.
I don't have a lot of knowledge about this as Ms. Sanfratello prepared it for you. It does, though, as its purpose, fix a negative line item. I do note that on the increased total, there's a typo and that should be fixed before you sign.
We have a revised one at our tables, so.
Right. yeah.
Perfect.
The decrease is 12,500, the increase is 12,500. Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to Resolution 21-95. Again, a transfer of funds.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Hardaway, second by Mr. Span for approval of Resolution 21-95. I do have a question on how this is formatted.
Typo on this one too, Mr. President. This doesn't read right.
It's got, yeah,
Total
Trista,
of $7,000 and then two line items at $650 apiece, switching them.
I
Ms.
think the
Rose-
$7,000 might be the total that's in the line now, is that?
Ms. Rosas prepared this for you, and I do think her intention was to let you know that the 7,000 was the original appropriation for the line item. It doesn't need to be listed, and it's not the typical format, so I would suggest that you just strike both $7,000 amounts that are listed. The transfer is only the $650 that you see there
Okay, so
in the rest of the
let's,
document.
Mr. Hardaway, would your motion stand if we strike out the increase and decrease of $7,000?
Yes.
And notate that we are moving $650,000 from cleaning supplies.
$650, Mr.
I'm sorry, $650. Thank you, Mr. Hardaway. It's Christmas. I was gonna,
I heard that.
And the same amount, $650 to general gasoline
Yeah.
fuel.
My motion's good.
Your second stand, Mr. Span?
Second, yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other discussions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to Resolution 21-96.
Oh, wait, no.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hardaway, second by Mr. Span to approve Resolution 21-96. The decrease in the general fund of 278013 and an increase into the 2010 judgment bond. The amount, again, is the same at 278013 cents. Discussion? Further explanation?
Sure, briefly. Congratulations, this was one of your debt service funds that was paid off this past January, so nice to have that off of your rolls. The reason that the transfer is needed, and it is a permanent transfer, is because the way the property tax levies were received to pay back the bonds, the timing was always a little bit off, and by way of short explanation, that left a negative in the fund by the time we get to the end. Some of it relates to trustee fees, but some of it relates just to simply how the DLGF allots the tax rates as well. So the point is, the purpose for the fund is over, it should be zeroed out, and the fund can be closed officially as well with this resolution that you have before you.
So we're bailing out Sean here, huh? Any other discussion?
I do, Mr. President. With that being paid off, then, I guess since we won't have to pay that every year, so where does the dollars go, or do we just bill that up somewhere else?
The tax rate that was, I'm sorry, may I?
Oh, absolutely.
The tax rate that was associated with that particular fund for that debt service simply gets reallocated into other areas that are needed. So as the DLGF looks at the budget for 2022, they start fresh with the budgets that you have presented, that you've requested, and they reallocate the tax rate. So you're not paying taxes for this fund anymore, but you're paying probably a similar amount of tax in some of the other areas that need debt service.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on tonight to Resolution 21-97. Again, a transfer of funds. You see the figures there, a very small amount.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hardaway, second by Mr. Span for approval of Resolution 21-97, transferring $2,755.45. Discussion from the council? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have Resolution 21-98. It's a general fund decrease of $7,100, a court probation increase of $7,100,
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hardaway with a second. by Mr. Span. Questions or comments? Further
ma'am.
explanation?
I think
Yes,
so.
on the court probation, what is that, the bailiffs or who?
No, I'll let Trista.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chris.
The fund pays for the probation officer.
Okay,
The revenue that comes into the fund are from the probation fees that the defendants pay while they're on probation. This year, that revenue has been less than what the expenses are, resulting in this approximate $7,000 deficit. We're suggesting that you as a council provide a temporary loan from the general fund to this court probation fund, which is what you have before you. That will allow, and with the emergency declaration that's included here, which is important, that will allow the temporary loan to follow into next year until June, before it needs to be repaid. The purpose for that suggestion is to allow then the court probation fund in January, February, March, as the court continues to wind down, to receipt in those additional revenues from the probationers that may still be active. Therefore, the fund can be added back to, I'm missing my word, and this temporary loan can be lessened. The court essentially will pay back part of this temporary loan with the probation fees they receive next year.
but they are getting an increase of the 7,100, correct? From the decrease to the increase.
For this temporary period, yes.
Yes.
And
This
hopefully
is
that will be,
temporary.
hopefully that will be smaller by the time the spring rolls around.
Okay,
And also, the court's under an obligation to maintain a probation officer.
yes, I know that. Good. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Our last resolution tonight, 21-99, another transfer.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hardaway, second by Mr. Span for Resolution 21-99 approval. Trista, do you have any knowledge on this one?
I do. The fire territory has a few items that they would like encumbrances for, which is what you have before you in your packet were the invoices that support these values. It simply allows the budget that was allotted for them this year to still be used, despite the fact that the items are not able to be delivered until into 2022.
Questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Trista. Do we have any BZA, a large gathering actions before us tonight?
No, sir, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any old business before us tonight?
Yes, Mr. President,
Mr. Pettit?
just an update from the RDC and actually litigation. Joe received the official documents releasing us from the Sanders lawsuit over on Mississippi. Matt, they were taking us to court over the residual damages, I guess, right, Joe, is how you phrase it?
Yes, the residual damage from all the improvements that we
We
made.
made down on Mississippi Street, so that's,
So it's been dismissed with prejudice, which means it can't be revived and it's done and over.
you know,
That's good news.
yeah.
Very good news. Good Chris was present.
Who dismissed it?
Any other old business before us?
They did.
They
withdrew-
did?
Yeah, they withdrew it.
Okay.
Moving on to new business, I think you just basically have a memo that highlights what Trista was just talking about. I believe, is that right? Yeah, the encumbrance of these items.
Yeah.
Public comment, is there any public comment this evening? Happy New Year, Judge. Okay. Announcements, we have a special town council meeting 2 days from tonight at 5:30. The agenda is inaccurate. It's at 5:30 PM here at Town Hall. Our next council meeting for the new year will be on January 11th at 6:30.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Was it good?
This meeting we're having Thursday, is that executive? No?
Council meeting.
Special, okay. I just wanted to make sure.
It's our last meeting of our 50 years.
Very good.